Shut up and sit down.
I'm totally gonna go vegan this season.
My mind's on fire, so I ride my bike. I'm riding harder than a hurricane. Love is
You shaved your legs? Does shaving your legs really make a difference? Man, shaved legs make such a difference. Look at that guy with the hairy legs.
I saw the old you for a second there. My mother made me.
You are listening to the Dialed Podcast with Matt Lee Grand, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von Turing. Optional listening required.
And get that runner's high.
I'm totally going vegetarian this season. Eating is cheating, man. I think protein's really gonna help me out in my season. Hey man, do you have a gel?
That runner's high. Babe, I think I found what it means to be alive.
You guys have some lube I can borrow?
Hi, and welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I'm Jake Von Turing. I'm here with Lance friggin' Hepler.
Lance friggin' Hepler. Frig it out and frig it and then frig it backwards and then forwards.
That's a lot of friggin' stuff.
That's too many friggins.
One too many. One too many,
Just one
Lance.
too many.
All right, to his right, Surrey and Gibson.
Yeah, I can't follow that. Hey, hi. It's
Gibbo.
Gibbo.
Here, Gibbo. Love it. Love it.
Last but not least, Mr. Matt Lee Grand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? You guys look pretty okay. Pretty freaking okay.
Pretty okay.
Pretty freaking okay.
Sweet. I think we're going to do the back pedal.
Backpedal.
Back pedal. Roll. Roll it.
Almost considering pushing that to the end, but people keep telling us they want it at the front. So, all
right.
we'll do the back pedal. Who wants to go first? Matt, you want to lead us off?
Sure.
All right, do it to it.
Running. It's all running now. This is a running podcast. It's a triathlon podcast turned running podcast. Again, I think if you look at my past 3-4 weeks, it's been one bike ride, one swim, all running.
All running.
And I ran 7 miles. It was, I want to say Wednesday or something. And it was 7 miles. And I just was running. My first mile was super slow, which is I do that on purpose, 10-minute pace or something like that. All of the rest of it was 7:30s, except for when I turned around and got a sip of water at the bout. I mean, it's just clipping along.
Yeah.
Clipping along,
right.
doing the thing, doing the dance, feeling the flow. That's a Happy Gilmore
That's
reference.
a Happy Gilmore
It's an
reference.
old reference for an old podcast.
Somebody pulled a Happy Gilmore reference. Oh, they were calling somebody from the other Wheel Sports podcast. They were calling Tadej Pogačar the Happy Gilmore of cycling.
Because he's happy.
Because he's happy and he just can't help himself. We'll get to it, but he just can't help himself.
No, he
Happy
can't help
Gilmore.
himself.
He was this hockey player that was playing golf and he couldn't putt.
I'm the only one that's tried to kill a referee with a skate. I think he says something like that. He's
Right.
I got a couple records too.
And so Happy Gilmore, and so to fix his putting, they gave him a hockey stick,
Yeah.
and he could putt with the hockey stick because it felt like home. He didn't change himself. Whereas Pogačar,
Yeah.
he
If he tries to
attacked
change-
on a sprint stage this week because he just can't help himself.
Can't help himself.
He can't help. He's the Happy Gilmore of cycling. Anyway, that was a dumb reference, but
It's a great reference.
just-
What are you talking about?
Cool.
Any
you like-
backpedaling?
Special background report here from Surrey and Gibson.
Hey.
Go ahead.
Right. So this weekend I did not do any gravel racing out at the coast. I'm basically a roadie. I wear
Yeah.
white cycling shoes and white aero socks, and I was not going to get covered in mud.
that is a roadie thing.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I heard it was good times, but
No.
wasn't for me. Anyway, I did race my bike on Monday. We went out to PIR. So PIR,
Sweet.
the heart of Obra racing.
Our
thing.
weekly circuit racing on the
Yeah.
road on the motocross track, on the motor track.
Yep. Portland
Right.
International Raceway.
Yep.
The road.
And for the first time, 1 out of 2 times this week, I got dropped.
Roll. Sounds like you need to listen to our podcast today.
I think I
More
do.
to come
yeah,
on that.
well, yeah. Anyway, yeah, I set off with the 1, 2, 3 field. They have it split into open 1, 2, 3, and then 50 plus, but we all race together. So I think it's my age. I think it's not getting any easier. But
to hang on to the younger 1, 2, 3s, to actually hang on to that field is
I looked
pretty
at
hard.
so I looked at my power file, and we were doing 400 watts plus. I did a spike of 850 watts in the first lap.
Oh, wow.
Just trying to stay on those guys. They just lit it up.
Surging quite a bit then, yeah?
Yeah. And then after 3 laps, I just couldn't do it anymore. So I did like a 7-lap individual time trial.
Oh, wow.
And then the group came by again, and I jumped on the back of that. And it was a workout.
Just gone hidden behind a tree or something like that for a lap and then jumped back in.
I nearly just did throw in the towel, but I figured I came there now, and I was going to get my workout.
Get your money's worth, huh?
I did, man. I set like my best ever 20-minute power, pretty much.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So now,
It was crazy.
you're saying that you got dropped, and that's not a normal thing. You're usually in there mixing it up. Has your training just been a little askew because you've been too busy being retired and stuff?
Race director, coaching.
Well, when you say askew, and we'll talk about this later for sure, what I think is I've just not been doing those super high top end intervals. So I've done a lot. I've done a bunch of races this year, but been more sort of on the endurance side. And so that super high end, that punchy stuff is not there. Like this time last year, I was doing way more VO2 intervals. And
Gotcha. So if any of your clients are listening, it's do as I say, not as I do. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just checking.
Look at my former self and embody him, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else?
No, we went flogging last night. That was another.
Cool. I'm sure Lance might
Yeah.
have something to say about that. Lance, would you like to backpedal for us real
I
quick?
can backpedal. I went to Utah for the week, saw my oldest son graduate from college. That was
Congratulations,
fantastic.
Lake. That's awesome.
Yeah, so my son Lake Hepler graduated in exercise science and outdoor recreation. It is a Bachelor of Science degree, so that was super fun. I was in Utah for the whole week. The weather was perfect there. It was great, sunny, gorgeous weather. And then as the storm rolled in, I drove back. I was planning to stay a little longer, but
Did you have to drive through a lot of stormy, rainy?
I
you
did.
Got away for it. Okay.
yeah, just at the very end, coming back in,
Okay.
I did. But yeah, I came back like 4 or 5 days earlier than I was kind of planning. And then I went straight down to PIR with Ian and showed up. And I raced the 4-5 field because I'm still a Cat 4 on the road. And so the 4-5s all go together, all ages, but the 50 plus are scored separately.
Okay.
And so it was not
dangerous.
Well, it was actually, there was a field of like 50.
Yeah.
There was quite a few people in our group, but it wasn't too dangerous this week. It was pretty good. It wasn't nearly as fast as the 1, 2, 3 field. I was able to stay with the field. There was 2 guys that got away that neither of them were 50 years old, so I did not go. I did not try to bridge to the break. But I ended up winning the 50 plus race.
Nice work.
So there was 6 or 7 50-year-olds, so there wasn't a whole lot. And I think I took like 8th in the final sprint, but I was ahead of all the 50-year-olds.
You haven't not won a lot this year.
We shouldn't.
This calendar year.
I don't know if I should brag about this because it's kind of a dick move.
You're going to get booted. You might get booted from... the podcast will not allow that.
I've done 8 OBRA races this year, the
Yeah.
Oregon Bicycle Racing Association. I've won all 8.
Yeah.
I'm 8 for 8 so far. That will abruptly end tomorrow.
Yeah.
I do think you should consider Cat 3 upgrade for the road, at least.
The road.
Yeah, maybe.
You're a Cat 3 rider.
Yeah, I
Jij
probably
bent een klootzak.
You might... It'll also depend on like how many teammates and stuff and things like that you have to work with tomorrow and have fun with.
proper road race tomorrow that's coming up.
But basically,
at
in the
Barton
Masters racing, you most often see combined fields anyway, like 50 plus 3, 4, 5.
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
at PIR, it's 3, 4. So it's not going to make a massive difference.
Yeah,
but
not a whole lot of difference.
Cat 3 is.
Yeah. Anyway, I still rode my bike all week. Still rode my bike every day. I didn't take a day off. I did the Tuesday night gravel ride.
How was that?
It was fantastic. We had 7 or 8 people. It was gorgeous weather.
Good.
I went way too hard there too. I took an easy day on Wednesday, And then I did the flogging ride again with Ian last night, and I was almost able to hang with some of the A group fast guys. So we didn't.
Wow.
How did you do going up to the school? That's like the real measurement of
test.
it.
I was 40 seconds behind the guys who won, so I did not make it with.
Who was in that lead group? Just
It was Martin Acosta,
okay.
who's an Obra hitter. He's the first time he's come. Paul First, Zach Winter. I think those are the three guys.
Rich.
And
Any of
Rich.
the Kiwi guys
no,
show
I
up?
caught Rich. None of the Kiwi guys showed
Gotcha.
up.
you call Rich?
All those Kiwi guys got COVID.
COVID. That's right. I heard about that.
They
Yep.
really.
They went to the tour. So we had a local-ish stage race in Wenatchee, Washington, called Tour of the Bloom.
Tour de Bloom. Yep.
Yep, and almost the whole POA team went out there to race it, and they were all staying together, and they all got COVID.
Hey.
So that's still a thing. It still happened. So there was none of those guys there last night.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anyway, yeah, that's it. Jake, backpedal.
I went to the gym, did my Jimmy things, and then I snuck away last weekend for a little trip to the coast with my wife. We went down to Canna Beach for a little 24-hour thing, which was a lot of fun. And then on Monday, I had my little hip procedure, and I'm still kind of hobbling around today, but on the whole, doing all right.
You went under the knife.
A little bit. It wasn't that complicated. It was more of like, let's put some stuff in you. And it was more to do some exploring kind of stuff to figure out what exactly is going in there. Because I don't know if you remember, if you go back, I talked about my MRI being quote unquote inconclusive.
Yeah.
The new doctor I was with took a look at it. And he's like, I wouldn't say inconclusive. There's some things that I want to confirm. And he was able to confirm those with this imaging and this stuff that they were putting in there. And
Interesting.
Anyway, long story short, it turns out that I do have a small tear in the labrum of my hip. Not the end of the world. And the thing that has been giving me a lot of grief looks to be a bone spur on the inferior side of the acetabulum, which is the ball at the end of the femoral neck that goes into the socket. And that seems to be a bit problem. And then the whole joint itself is just like...
Is this due to the crash still, though? I mean, like, or is it, like,
Well,
hard to say?
It was about 11 years ago I broke my femoral neck. And so I've got 3 titanium screws in there, and they're not sure
And
if
it's the
it's
same
something
side.
from that. And then with respect to my hip, I never really noticed anything from my hip. Like after I got hit by the car, everything hurt from head to toe, right?
yeah.
And then I was pretty much just like laid up. I mean, I had a broken ankle and broken ribs and broken dislocated shoulder, back concussion. So you're not really moving around much. And I really never truly noticed my hip, but everything hurt. I don't know if there was anything tied to that. And once I started to recover and once I was able to, I got back on the trainer and I was riding because I had nothing else to do. And I didn't really notice any problems. It was about a little over 2 years ago, though, that I did have a little spill, fell on that right hip again. And I think that that's actually where I'm going to point the blame at. It was just a little mundane, coming down an off-camber turn in November. It was one of those where it's kind of in the shade, so it's got a little bit of that green, mossy stuff on the road. And like you're 1 second you're up, and the next second the whole bike goes out from underneath you and you land on your hip. And it was at that point in time that it was kind of problematic. And that's where that lesion thing started to kind of rear its ugly head. I started to develop problems with the internal part of the joint probably 6 or 8 months later. So it's kind of hard to say, but I think that's, if I'm going to point something at it, that's what we're at. So anyway, while they were in there, they went ahead and injected some stuff to like help the joint and to help with the inflammation, something akin to like a cortisone shot, as well as something else to kind of deal with like the inflammation stuff that I've got going on there. The whole process behind that was that they were going to give me that, and then I was supposed to be non-weight bearing for 2 weeks, and I was really dreading the next 2 weeks. After that process, they kind of changed the orders and said you just need to take it easy, so don't do anything strenuous. So I was super happy to hear about that. So I've actually been up and moving around a little bit this week, which is good.
Gonna go for a run later.
Oh yeah. And he actually told me that I can start to get on the trainer for very short efforts. 5 to 10 to 15 minutes just to see how my body tolerates it, super low watts, and just kind of see how it goes, and then play it by ear from there. And then once 2 weeks is up, I've got like a whole like physical therapy regimen that I'll be doing, and I'm going to try my butt off to get back on a bike and get out there and ride this summer. So we'll see how it does and how it responds. And he said that if everything that they did there, plus the physical therapy, looks good and works really well for 6 to 8 months or so, that we can kind of go back in and do another injection and whatnot. But he says if that doesn't take, I'm still dealing with all kinds of issues, then we're going to have to go in with something a little bit more intrusive. And it's probably going to be to take out the hardware. So we'll see.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. And he said that that's not as straightforward and cut and dry as you would think. So just based on where they're at and all the other fun things. So anyway, we'll see. It's just one step at a time. I feel good though in the fact that I feel like I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that I've bounced off the bottom and then I'm coming up now and I've got like a heading of where I want to go and what I need to do. And the people that I've been working with, they seem like they know what they're doing now and they've been, helping me out. So we'll see. We'll get there.
Good.
Yeah. It's going in the right direction.
Thank goodness.
On that note,
Champ Bailey in sports.
Oh, there have been some races.
let's talk about better things. Let's pretend that we are Tadej Pogacar.
Champ Bailey here. We do have the whole first week of the Giro d'Italia has happened. It has been fun racing.
Yes.
They've had great weather. First time ever Tadej Pogacar is doing the Giro, and he is basically owning it.
Invincible.
He's crushing
As
it.
long as he stays upright, man.
Yeah.
And I think he's had some scares, but
He
maybe on the third stage or something. I can't remember. There was like a scare.
he had a little, I think he had a little mechanical, but jumped right back on.
There was
and
one
got back up.
mechanical where his car almost ran over him. Did you see that?
Yeah, he just like wiped out. The car was behind him, and like they were like really close.
His
Yeah,
rear tire was under the car.
Oh my gosh. I missed that.
It was interesting because like, okay, so he had a flat and like the sealant was going all over the place, and they're on the radio and they're like, change your tire after the turn, change your after the turn. And he's like, no, I should change it before the turn.
Oh, that's right. His front wheel washed out.
And then he went to do it after the turn, and he washed out. And then the car, they were like
Almost
ready to
ran
change
into
his
him.
tire. They were ready to change his tire, so they were right on him. They just almost rolled over. It would be a bad way to end the whole thing.
Run over by a team car.
There's been some interesting like team decisions. I'm like, Tadej's good, man. He's fine. Just leave him alone.
Right.
Just turn the radio off. Leave him alone. He'll be fine.
Do his thing. Yeah, so he won one stage by like 45 seconds. So he took the pink jersey, the leader's jersey.
Yeah.
So
That was stage 2 or
that
something.
was stage 2. So he took the pink jersey on
pretty
stage
early.
2. Stage 3 was a sprint stage, but there was a little short climb right before the final like 2K, and he attacked on it.
Was that gravel or something?
No.
Wasn't there one that was gravel? I don't remember.
Yesterday was like a Strade Bianche stage where there was a bunch of gravel sections.
Yeah.
But that one he attacked, and Geraint Thomas is trying to stay with Tadej. He's not trying to lose time with him. So Tadej attacks and Geraint went with him, and the two of them got away. It looked like they might on this flyer actually win the sprint stage, but they got caught with literally like 150 meters to go or something like that. So it ended up being a sprint stage.
Tadej gonna Tadej, man.
He just couldn't like help himself. He Happy Gilmore'd it, like we talked about already.
I think that's going to be his. If he has an Achilles heel, it's that he
Can't help
that
himself.
he can't help himself, and
He's
and
going to win sprint
the
stages.
other teams will take advantage of that. Like I was watching yesterday, and Ineos, the team, looked super strong. Like they were really in control yesterday. So.
They're really working for Geraint. They really want him to win. So
I think everyone likes him.
yeah,
That's probably his name.
he's likable.
Geraint.
Geraint.
Everyone loves Geraint.
Everybody loves him. Yeah. So it's been fun. Today was the individual time trial. It was just over 40Ks. It was like 40.5K or something like that. Felipe Gana laid down a fantastic time, like
As he does.
52 minutes or something like that. And Toddy went out and beat him.
By a significant margin. It was like 17 seconds
It
or
was
something.
17 seconds.
Tornadoed it.
He put 2 minutes into Geraint.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Were they talking about equipment? I remember.
I hardly watched any
Well,
of it.
this just happened,
It
like
just
right before
happened
we started
today,
recording, and I don't remember. I went out to run or something like that, and I missed the into the time trial thing. So I think it was, he's wearing pink, man. It's pink speed suit seems to be working just fine.
Yeah, he's gone full Pink Panther on the bike. He's got pink highlights on the bike, pink socks, pink gloves, pink helmet, pink glasses, pink computer,
All in.
and full pink skin suit.
It could definitely turn into a pretty boring edition of the Giro.
Yeah.
At this rate, if he's already up 2 minutes after.
I mean, how
He
much
is
more
up
does he
to-
need? How much
he's
more
up-
does he need? Do you think he can just sit in and audit the rest of the race?
Well, he could like active recovery the rest of the race and still win it. Except for, there's still big mountain stages to come.
How many bullets do you need to leave in the chamber for the tour coming up? I mean, do you really want to exert yourself that much for a full 3 weeks? Probably
We're
not.
talking about Tadej here. He wants to go.
This is true.
The only thing holding him back is like, oh, maybe some sealant leaks and my team tells me to do something that's stupid, and then all of a sudden I go down. Like that's what's holding him back.
Right.
Otherwise, he's chomping at the bit, man. He's like, you think like a mountain stage?
Who's in third place?
Actually, Danny Martinez is in second. He
passed
G in the time trial today.
Teammate, huh?
Yeah. No, they're not teammates. Danny
anymore.
Martinez is now with Bora.
Yeah.
Oh.
He moved to Bora.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So G is within you. So Danny Martinez is 2 minutes 36 seconds back, and G is at 2:46 back. So they're they're already 2.5 minutes, and it's been 7 stages. So we got 2 more weeks to go.
He just has to sit in. Just has to audit and see what's going on, see what the other people are doing, what moves are making. Let his team kind of drag him around a little bit, and if he's got to get after it a couple times, then so be it. But I think I don't think he needs to really put himself out there too much more if he wants to go doubleheader.
No.
No, but it doesn't make for entertaining racing, does it? Though, really, when you have this one genetic freak. I mean, he is a good entertaining bike racer, but to be that far ahead after week, it takes all the suspense out of the race.
Like in the days of Sky with Chris Froome, it's just like if he's got it under control after the first 3 or 4 days, you're like, well, this is gonna be boring to watch.
Okay, but I disagree because now the break has a chance every day.
Yeah.
So there will be a break every day,
there's gonna be
and who goes in the break depends on where they're standing. It'll still be exciting to watch to see who gets in the break. Well, that's how Sepp Kuss won the Vuelta last year. He got an early break and they didn't think he'd be a threat, and he ended up winning.
Okay. What about if he were just to identify a stage in the next 3 or 4 days and just go just go crazy and just go all out and see if he can put a minute into the next guy?
He's gonna get more time.
I know.
There's
I'm just
enough
saying,
mountaintop finishes.
How much time do you need just to say I've got this under control?
7 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean,
5 to 7 minutes.
5 to 7 minutes.
so he's not too far off of that. It's just a stage or two, and then he can kind of just sit in on autopilot. Yes, it makes for a boring race, but
He can sit in on autopilot now, and because here's the thing, like he's just not gonna let let's say one day Garrett has a great day in the mountains, and the next day Danny Martinez, someone else has a great day in the mountains, or whatever. He's gonna be up at that peak each time, which means he's gonna be gaining seconds each time on the field.
Yeah.
Which means he's gonna accumulate 5 minutes at some point. He'll be fine. He'll be fine, even if he just plays, and that's him playing it safe. Which we're talking about Tadej Pogacar. He's not gonna do that. So,
No, but beyond the individual, it's going to take some serious focused teamwork to defeat him, and that's how he got
beat
a couple of years ago in the Tour de France when
against
Visma
he
took him on.
He got
as a
1-2.
team.
He got tag teamed.
He got tag team by
Tag
team.
Jumbo.
Yeah.
Sounds sexual. Jumbo tag team.
Jumbo tag team. I'm not going down that path with you, Matt.
Okay. First time for everything, Lance. First time for everything.
Lance would go down that path.
Oh,
with you.
my bad.
This is Champ speaking.
Champ. I can't wait for Lance to get back when the conversation gets dirty. Gets dirty fast.
Here we go.
Oh.
So Vuelta's been super exciting to watch.
Anything else?
It is on Max.
Yes, that's where I'm
so
watching it,
everybody's been watching it on. It used to be HBO Max, but they're rebranded as Max. So a lot of people have Max with their regular cable subscribers. So you should be able to watch it on the Bleacher Report stuff. So on their Bleacher Report, their sports channel it's the tab.
I didn't know what that stood for.
BR stands for Bleacher Report.
I had no idea what that
It's
stood
just
for.
their sports channel. Yeah,
Works.
But it's basically the
Now I know.
Eurosport
correct.
program, which is good, really good.
Ian mentioned these earlier. We did have 2 gravel races on the Obra calendar this last weekend out in Waldport, Oregon. It was the worst weather that they've had at these races for 15 years. It was 38 degrees and raining both days and some hellacious wind. So they weren't really super well attended because the weather was so nasty. But they still pulled off both the races, and
kind of crazy because they weren't too far away from me where I was doing my little thing with my wife. We went down on early Saturday morning and stayed the night Saturday night, and then came home on Sunday.
You were in Cannon Beach.
Beach, but that's not too far away.
It's 3 hours from Waldport.
I thought it was only
No.
an hour or so. Really?
No, it's
so is that
3 hours.
much more significant up there? No, that makes sense. I mean, we went out
Oregon's
and
big.
we did a long walk on the beach because broken old guy now, but I felt good enough that we went and did it was about a 4-mile hike with it's about 11 or 1,200 feet of elevation gain on this Indian beach trailhead thing, which was beautiful. And it was raining a little bit super muddy, but the weather wasn't all that bad. I mean, it rained just a tiny bit, but it was nice. So It sucks that they got that bad weather. Oh, well.
The Oregon Coast Gravel Epic, there was a long course and a short course. The long course was won by Aris Sophocles. He's the 44-year-old guy out of Bend who is kind of a crusher. Jackson Rich and Austin Davis were second and third. The short course was won by Anj Stadnik, friend of the podcast.
Yeah.
Daniel Handorf was second.
Hey, Dan. Yep.
Yeah, he's done a bunch of stuff with us. And Edward Dudlick was third overall.
Attaboy.
All three of those guys won their individual age groups, but
Sweet.
that was overall. The next day at West Coast Gravel, it was another gravel race. It starts just 10 miles down the road at Yakuts, Oregon. This short course, actually, Ed Dudlick went out and won it. He won overall. He's freaking crushing.
He's having a good stretch right now.
Ed's looking really strong.
Yeah.
Coach Gravel Grinder, and he won both of those, right?
Yes.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah. So third on the day on the short course was Kylie Hannell.
Really? Overall?
Yes, overall.
Holy smokes.
Not women, overall.
Fresh off her tour to Gila or whatever that is, her
Correct.
third place overall GC. That's a fantastic.
And her father, Chris, was right behind her.
Sweet.
So the long course was won by Brock Atkinson, second Brent Madison, and third was Tyler Kino.
Okay.
So people started to have some trouble the next day. There were like hypothermia issues and people getting pulled off the course because it was wet and cold and nasty and it was difficult.
Yuck.
Other than that, we had a whole bunch of Dialed Cycling teammates who made podiums in both those races.
Way to go, team.
Yeah, so congrats, guys. We're super proud of you. If I start listing them all off, I'm going to forget somebody. So,
Well, they know who they are. Congratulations. Well done. Anything else, Champ?
Champ out.
Gotcha. Matt, you got anything to add in the running triathloning world?
I don't know. I don't think so.
No?
They
Camus,
had
track and field.
St. George 70.3 was the U.S. Championships.
Paula Finley won the on the women's side.
And guess who won on the men's side?
Can't
Take
remember.
a guess. Just guess.
Lionel Sanders
Nope.
was hurt. He was hurt.
Sam Long?
Sam Long.
Hey.
Oh, did he really? I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
he freaking
That's awesome.
crushed it.
Good for him.
I think I saw a
You're
clip
best
of
friends
him.
with him.
Did he like stop and give somebody like a hug and a kiss or something like that?
He's married.
Family.
Yeah.
He's only like 27 years
Yeah,
old.
it's like
He's
a- it's like
married
daughter
and
or
has a
something like
baby.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he stopped and gave them both a kiss
Yes.
on his running.
Yeah,
So,
that was kind of cool. I don't know why
Recent
or how
baby,
I saw that. But
recent
yeah.
marriage.
yes.
Good family.
Good
and
family.
Good tight friends with Lance Hepler. You guys hang out in Arizona.
Yeah, basically best friends.
Best buds. And we're best buds with Paula Finley too, because swam with her once and
So best
we're
friends.
best friends.
Sweet. Hey, how about the topic for this week, guys? You ready?
Ready.
We're ready.
Awesome. The topic for this week is our step-by-step process to get fast for the summer.
Step by step.
I am going to
process.
start this.
EPO HGH.
There it
Is
is.
that all I need?
1, 2. You need a third something.
One arm, next arm.
Testosterone.
Very self-serving. I will be starting with my first 5-minute session this weekend. So what do I need to do to get fast, guys?
What do you need to do?
No, seriously though, there's a lot of people that are getting squared up because the weather's getting nice here, and all the group rides are starting to go off. There's plenty of racing still on the calendar. There's lots of events coming up this summer, and there's a lot of people that are like, rut row, I didn't do enough this winter. Or rut row, I want to get faster. I'm not going to be able to keep up with these people. Or I showed up to my weekly group ride and got dropped out the back. So we thought that we would put together a nice little step-by-step thing that you can put together for yourself. A little bit of a list, if you will,
Yes.
and we've got some input. And
It's
we're
funny.
gonna.
It's funny because I'm the coach, right? And I am that guy that's getting dropped. And
Motivating you.
Discovering that I'm not as probably not in as good a shape as I was. this time last
You'll
year,
do it. I've got
but yeah.
plenty of faith in you. So the first thing is it's kind of like you need to determine what you're doing and why you're doing it. I mean, I guess that could be relative to, like, if you want to get fast, well, why do you want to get fast? Do you want to get fast just because you want to, commute to work a little bit faster? Or do you want to get fast to keep up with a group ride? Or
Strava KOMs.
Strava KOMs, or you've maybe just determined like, hey, it's time. I want to get faster. Or maybe there's a race or an event on the calendar that you want to be plenty fast for. I mean, there's a myriad of reasons why you would want to get faster, but you have to like decide what it is for you and what it is that you're going to be trying to get faster for.
You have to identify a goal.
Yeah.
I'm doing again this year like 40 races
Yep.
throughout the year, but there's one race I really
poster
want to
child
win.
for-
Poster child for idiocy.
For just
Idiocy?
like let's put a goal on the table
put a-
or shotgun
Or
approach.
shotgun.
No, you have one. You have one. That's,
I have one race that I really want to do well at. It's
Is it-
Sister Stampede. It's a mountain bike race. It's in like 2 weeks. 1, 2. I
All
don't
right.
know.
It's like Memorial
coming up.
ish.
Memorial,
Oh, geez,
yeah.
that's soon.
So that's a race I do want to win again. I want to win my division again, and so I had to make a choice because that's like a 2.5 hour race, and 6 days later, I'm doing the Unbound 100 race in Kansas. I am
is totally-
not
I think that's
training
okay.
for the
Yeah.
Unbound at all. I'm training for the
Sister Stampede.
for the Sister Stampede.
Did you
So-
just do any specific training, like do more technical stuff, or
I've been already on it. Yes, you
But
do
that's
have to do
that's a
specific
good
training.
point, right? That
Yeah.
that some events are going to be more important than others, and it's important to identify, hey, which one of those is most important. Like,
I had to
because
choose.
if you had to choose.
Yes.
Yeah, because the way you approach that event is going to be different than say, for example, a race that you might do weekly, like we do PIR. You know, it's basically another training day. It's
Exactly.
not like you,
It's
you
a
know,
it's a
base your
practice
season
race.
around that.
Yes,
right.
PR's practice races.
we
for
usually
me.
say like there's like your A race, and then you have these B races. PIR doesn't even qualify as a B race, right? Where
No.
it's just like this is just a training day.
correct.
But
What's
that's
beautiful
okay.
about those is you'll never push yourself harder than
Correct.
you will in a race. And so if you want to have a training effect, I mean, that's a great way to do it. And it doesn't even have to be para. It can be any race that's leading up to that because you're going to work harder than that. And the effect that you're going to get from that is going to be significantly more than just going out and doing it on your own.
There is a difference between doing sprint intervals on my solo ride and sprinting against 25 other people in a race.
Yeah.
You dig deeper.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
the only thing that I could say comes like remotely close to that, but it's still not even close. It's just chasing like a KOM, like a Strava statement that you've maybe identified as like, hey, I want to get on the leaderboard here. I want to take a stab at this and get a PR, or I want to get the KOM itself. I mean, you can push yourself pretty hard there, but there's something about being in a group of other people where like a primal instinct just takes over and you push
Right.
a little bit harder, and the effect that you get from that is pretty substantial. So
I could say that this conversation is most pertinent to those people that are racing. I mean, that seems to be the most. It seems to be the best reason to want to get fast. Like a lot of it, but there again, there's people that want to get fit and strong, which could be synonymous with going fast on a bicycle.
You know,
but
there's a lot of people that don't like to race at all. They go out and do plenty of rides and they just ride at a certain speed. And if you're new to the sport and they're riding at like 18 or 19 miles an hour and you're getting out there and you're popping off because you can only do 16 or 17. So you want to get faster to be able to keep up with them. So
yeah.
it doesn't have to be specific to a particular race. So this can speak to a lot of people. But to your point, yes. I mean, we're all competitive people sitting at this table, and a lot of people that ride bikes can be pretty competitive, and they want to get faster on the bike so that they can be more competitive.
Yes.
But you can make a case for just about anybody.
And I've got clients that don't race, that,
Yeah.
that just wanted to get fit for a couple of them, you know, for a specific event they had in
Sure.
mind. But they're not racers, you know, and then that brings us to what you're probably going to make as your next point is how do you measure, if you're not going to race, if your goal is not to get faster in a race, then how are you measuring your fitness improvements
Yeah,
or your
yep.
speed improvements?
Yep. So just to touch on this one, like Lance said, is like get some events, like sign up for something. But you know, putting things on the calendar. We've talked about this before in the past. Put things on the calendar
Yeah.
because all of a sudden there's a paradigm shift. Like, all right, this just got real. It's on the calendar. There's only so many days between now and then, and every single day that goes by, I'm one day closer. Am I doing the work that I need to be doing to get faster? So it's once you do that, it's time to like, all right, this just became real. Let's organize this and let's come up with a plan of attack. So the next thing is you kind of need to figure out what you're working with here, and you got to make sure that you've got a bike. Is your bike good, safe condition? Like, are you going to go out there and do intervals, and all of a sudden nuts and bolts are flying off, and you're going to be flying over the bars into traffic and getting run over? Well, that doesn't really help you
Or
get
you
faster.
pull your pedal out of your clip.
Yeah, that happens. I mean, you got to check all of your equipment. Like, are your cleats good? Are your tires good? Is your bike tuned up? Is everything torqued down to spec? I mean, all of those things. That's important too. So safety check. Go do your
I
safety
think
check.
that's definitely people overlook that. Their cleat to pedal interface. I've seen people pull out of their pedals in the sprints before now at PIR. And then they go weaving across the road because they're all of a sudden unstable. And that's, yeah.
Go test that stuff out. But the other thing is like, what are you going to use to establish a baseline? And then if you're going to do it a certain way, like, do you have the correct equipment for that? So if you're going to use power as a means, do you have a power meter? Do you know how to use a power meter? Do you have a way to measure that and capture that data and a way to analyze that? So you got to go through that whole process. What would you guys recommend that people have? Because you can do this with absolutely nothing. There's ways to quantify that you're getting faster, but what would be the ideal setup for folks? I mean, most everybody that's listening to this is going to be like, "Oh,
Power meter, heart rate
rhetorical."
monitor.
Yep.
Yeah.
You could even get away without. I mean, heart rate monitors are so cheap; they're on like every watch.
Yes.
But still, I think for the four of us, it's pretty in agreement that a power meter is a good purchase.
Yeah.
There was a time, 3 or 4 years ago, even where
Wasn't that long ago, yeah.
not that many people had power meters. They were prohibitively expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Now it's kind of gotten to the point where anybody that's serious about making improvements, I mean, that's the one metric or the one thing you can look at that does not tell a lie. You know, it measures objectively.
And it used to be
what
that
you're
it
doing.
used to be that you had to pay $1,000, and I think that's why it was such a barrier. And now it's like $400. You can probably get something pretty decent, like
You
something
can get
that'll
something
cover
decent for under $400.
Absolutely.
Like I think heart rate monitors are good. I will look at somebody's heart rate together with their power numbers, and there's a lot you can get out of that. But there's a lot of rides where I go to put my heart rate monitor on, and I'm like, yeah, why? I'm not even. It's not helping me in any way. Interesting, but
Yeah, it's sometimes good to kind of quantify whether or not you're working hard enough. Could I have pushed a little bit harder, or if you haven't been feeling exactly well and you just can't get your heart rate up, or if it's a hot day and you want to make sure that you're not getting into a heat exhaustion kind of situation. So it definitely has its place. I mean, yes, it's a softer science than power meters, but I think it still serves a purpose. But you don't absolutely have to have it.
yeah, I mean, like Matt said, was not that long ago where it was the only option was to go off of heart rate or even perceived exertion. But,
But
these
that was
days,
back when there was no fast cyclists back 10 years ago.
Well, if you're going to have all these devices, you got to have something to connect them to. You're pretty much going to need to get yourself a head unit. So you're going to be looking at a bike computer, probably Wahoo or Garmin.
Wahoo or Garmin. Those are
Hammerhead.
kind of the two
Maybe
big.
Hammerhead, but Wahoo or Garmin.
Yeah, those are going to be the two.
I'm still waiting for Hammerhead Crew 3.
Yep.
I can only say stuff because I don't know anything, but don't buy a Hammerhead Crew 2 right now, I think you wait and see what they announce. And then after they announce the Hammerhead Crew 3, then look at the 2 at discounted price.
Yeah,
that's my
exactly. I was going to say
take.
the 2's still a really good computer. It's for specific people. There are certain people I'm going to say don't get it, but if you can get one right now for a screaming deal, jump on it.
Right.
And you can always turn around and sell it later. But one of those two. So you could do that, or you could look at getting something in the used market. But I wouldn't get something that's more than like 2 or 3 years old because the battery starts to lose its life cycles.
Lithium-ion batteries.
And
have
you
a
got to
shelf
make
life.
sure that it works with all of the different devices. So, or you can just go out and get yourself something new, and it's going to cost you somewhere between $275 and $750. It just depends on what you want to get. So.
Yeah.
You got to make sure that you got all the right equipment. Once you get all of that stuff done, it's time to start like going out and training. So you were going to want to do what next, Ian? If I was coaching you and I came to you as a new client and I called up the Dial Performance coach and said, "Hey, sign me up. All right, I got all my stuff. I've got my computer, my bike's tuned. I'm ready to go. Cleats are good. What are you going to have me do? Where am I starting first?"
well, everybody that signs on with me, we start with a long conversation about where you're at and specifically what are you training for?
Sure. Okay.
What are you training for?
Okay. And then once that's done, what are we doing first?
Well, we're going to put together a plan.
Okay.
And we're going to base that around your specific goals.
Okay.
So right now, I mean, we are in race season. Most of these events that are coming up, if it's an event that you're training for, is right around the corner. So we would treat you as a client differently than somebody who's, say, joining on in the middle of the off season. Right now, get you up to speed for that race that's only perhaps 3 or 4 weeks away.
So here's a question for you, Ian.
Go on.
Say your goal race is in August or September, which could quite possibly be the case. My thought is that if it's a 6-hour race, a 5 or a 6-hour race, most of your training is going to be sweet spot or endurance based. Whereas if it's a 2 to 3 hour race, you've got to do some high intensity training. You need to do some VO2 work, some sprint work, some threshold work. Am I
I
close?
would say close, but even in those longer endurance events, cycling is different to running or triathlons, where you're basically using one power system. But the nature of a bicycle race, those surges, those flats and hills, the change of terrain means you have to draw on a variety of different strengths. So whether that's what we could measure as a 5-minute,
Right.
hot punchy effort to more of a muscular endurance type of thing that you got to be in shape, or you got to be able to hold a certain intensity for a longer period. So even in any given event, there's a whole variety of things that you're going to have to draw upon, even if that is an endurance event, or even if it is a criterion. There's more than that one thing you have to take care of.
Right.
Gotcha. So again, just kind of molding out their calendar and looking at there's one other thing that we haven't really talked about here. Like, you need to be able to determine how much time you're willing to dedicate to a training program. If you're going to come to me and say, I've got about 2 or 3 hours a week I can dedicate to getting faster on the bike, you're going to get a little bit faster if you haven't been training much. But if that's what you've been doing and that's all you've got to put in to go forward, we're not going to see a lot of improvements. And we might need to determine, all right, well, how can we create more time? I've always kind of looked at it from the mindset of like, all right, you should at least at a minimum be doing 4 to 5 hours a week on the bike at a minimum, just to kind of show any kind of like incremental improvement. If you want to really start to see some significant gains, get to that 7 to 8 hour mark. If you can hit the 10-hour a week mark for, an amateur cyclist who is, got to work and family and all of the other things going on in life, it's a stretch. It's a big commitment to do 10 hours a week. But if you can hit that, I think that's like kind of the sweet spot. If you're retired Lance Hepler and you can ride 20 hours a week, then yeah, you're going to get pretty stinking fast.
Roundtable question. Ian, how many hours a week are you bike training?
Right now, sort of between 10 to 12, I would say.
I'm right there. I'm right there. Really close to you guys.
How many hours a week are you bike training?
About 2.
About 2. Jake, how many hours a week are you bike training?
This week will be about 5 minutes.
About 5 minutes.
5 minutes. It's pretty good.
I'm getting
He's
up to 5
hoping
minutes.
to do 5 minutes.
Dude, that's a huge improvement for me. But
Yes, it is.
I think you're right.
And Lance,
like-
you didn't roundtable it up. You didn't finish up.
I've been
85.
I've been averaging. I averaged about 18 through the winter.
Yeah.
But as race season started, and I'm racing more and recovering more in the race, it's more like 13. But I'm
Okay.
Matt, when you're normally training,
Sure.
triathlon aside, but let's just say you're like not triathlon, but Ironman aside, because when you're doing Ironman, that's big hours.
Those are big hours.
But in a normal like non-Ironman, but still competitive schedule, how many hours a week are you on the bike?
Ooh, I
Or
don't
just
know.
training in general, I guess, because you swim, bike, and run. But
Okay, so like if I was back in the day when I was training a good bit, but I was in between Ironmans, that kind of time frame, or
Sure.
So probably, also it also depends on the weather a good bit. Like sunny weather and like this time, like it's gotten really nice
Oh, yeah.
recently. Weather is popping right now, and so those times we would go, about 12.
okay,
So it's basically like long run and then kind of another semi-long ride per week. So it's kind of like 2 of those, and then a lot of like 1 hour training days on the trainer.
my sweet spot when I'm training and everything's hitting and nothing's broken, I'm usually in that 10 to 12 hour mark. If I can get more, that's great. But if I'm getting more, then I'm getting flack at home maybe. So I
It's a
things
tricky
start to suffer with respect to like the family life. And
You're just gone. Like you're just gone.
Yeah.
Like 6-hour training rides, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's like
exactly.
that's a long time to be gone.
It is. So, but I can make that 10 hours. That for me, that was a sweet spot. 10 to 12 hours. If I can get in there, I can keep work-life balance. I can train and I can see good gains. So,
I mean, I think there is a minimum. If you can if you can do 3 to 4 hours a week of training, you might want to reconsider your priorities.
I can tell you,
it's not enough.
I can
But
tell you 2 hours is not working.
right.
I can tell you that is like you are detraining at that point.
I rode with you one day and you stayed on my wheel.
And we hammered. You were scared a little bit, weren't you? Were you like, when's Matt going to shoot off the front
That's
here?
right.
You're worried.
But beyond that,
running
whether
does
it's 6 or 16 hours, it's all about the quality you're putting in.
Sure.
You could do a 20-hour week, and it could all be junk miles. It's not getting you anything.
Well, that goes back to working with a coach or having a program that you're following and having some sort of an accountability system that's going to say, hey, we're supposed to be doing a zone 2 ride today, and you're off the front, you're chasing squirrels and sprinting after KOM segments, like back off, you're not doing this the right way. But I definitely agree. The other thing, like you gotta like put it on the calendar. You've got to be consistent. And if you leave things to like the last second, your default at some point in time is going to be like, screw it, just not going to do it. Or I'll do it tomorrow. Or, the next thing you know, you go through the week and you're supposed to do an 8-hour week. And the next thing you know, it's only 4 or 5 because you just didn't allocate the time. So if you put it on the calendar, you put it on a schedule and you make that kind of sacred and you stick to that and put it in times where you can do it, you're going to see better results. So I really highly recommend that you come up with a routine that works and let everybody know. And then for me, the big thing too is like, if I'm going to do this, I am almost guaranteed to follow through every single time if I am doing it with somebody else. So if I tell Lance, like, hey, I'm training this week and I'm going to do these days.
Yes.
What days would you like to jump on with me? I know that, and he says he's going to come join me on 3 of the rides. I know that I can't back out. I know that I have to be ready. I know that I have to like get my stuff done and be ready to go. And I know that we're going to go out and we're going to do the whole thing. And I'm not going to pull out early and just say I'm just going to go home. Like it's going to get done. And when I hold myself accountable that way, that's a big win. And then the other thing is, just about everywhere has local rides that you can jump on.
Correct.
And a lot of times those rides will kind of let you know what they're going to be all about. There might be some that, like for us, we'll say this is a zone 2 ride. Yes, not everybody's zone 2 is the same, but for all intents and purposes, you're going to be in that zone. You can sit on somebody's wheel the whole time. You don't have to take any pulls if it's a little bit spicier for you.
Isn't Dialed a little infamous for like our zone 2 rides?
That's my fault. Purely my fault.
It's one person at the table that we want to just call out.
When I showed up to our Wednesday lunch rides that were zone 2, I would fall way off the back and I would hold my watts and then I would throw things at Lance Epler when I caught up to him eventually. But
I remember going out for one of those lunch rides with you either last year or 2 years ago, and I saw the stop sign ahead and I looked at you and I'm like, come on, Jake, let's go. And you just, you're like, nope, not on this ride. I'm not doing it. And I was, it's kind of disappointing, but definitely you have to have that. Yeah.
But again, going back to the group ride thing, a lot of the rides though, like you'll know that it's going to be like a spicy ride. You know that they're going to have hot sections. And a lot of times those are a period of time so that you can start to like work your training routine. Like, all right, on these days, I'm going to go do zone 2 with, these people, or I'm going to go do it with my friend, or maybe I have to go do it by myself. That's fine. But I also know that I can go out and replicate these interval sets. Like if it's like a 20-minute threshold thing that you're going to be doing, you can go do that in some of these spicy group rides, knowing that you're going to work your butt off harder than you normally would. And it's just a good thing. So you can kind of work your schedule that way. I did that for years.
Right.
Years I did that. And it worked really well because I got decently fast. Yeah. So anyway,
it's all about time management. We
Absolutely.
are amateur athletes. We only have so much time to train. Make the most of your time. And like you said, if you've got somebody to train with, somebody you're beholden to that you have arranged to meet, or you're going to do this weekly ride with a training buddy, that kind of holds you accountable.
Sure.
And you're much more likely to do that workout if you're doing it with a partner.
Sure.
And also, if you do hire a coach, that accountability is huge. Just having somebody to say, well, did you do the workout that you said you were going to do?
That's the major benefit of having a coach. It's 2 things: accountability with some real live person that I actually have to answer questions to, and adjusting my plan when life gets in the way.
Yeah, and there's some good mentorship that goes in there as well. They'll throw some things at you that maybe some pearls of wisdom that you didn't know, or like maybe you run into a rough spot, or maybe you get hurt or whatnot. They're likely have been down that road before, and they're going to be able to like walk you through that process so that you can bounce back a little bit quicker. The other thing is, if you want to get faster, ride with people who are faster than you, especially on those days where you got to work hard. Ride with people who are faster than you, because again, you're not going to push yourself harder.
Last night at the team group ride, there was, 30 people there or something. and I had planned to do an interval session yesterday, but I scrapped that just to do the group ride. And my whole plan was stay on this guy's wheel as long as I possibly can, and try not to attack. The week before, I went with the slower group, and I attacked and suffered way more. But then last night, I just tried to stay with these two super fast guys as long as I possibly can, and I made it way further, and it was way more beneficial for me to do that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So all of that aside, the next step would be, again, building the schedule. We started to tiptoe into that. Do you guys have a particular recipe that works well for you? If you're, I know that this is so subjective because there's so many different kinds of rides and races and different variables or ways to say, like, this is what I want to get faster for. But if you were just to come up with a generic program, like if I came to you and said, hey, I don't have a race on the calendar, I just want to get faster. I have maybe a month or 6 or 8 weeks. So let's say that something's coming up in August. That's reasonable. There's like a state championship criterium coming up, or there might be some longer road thing going on, and I've got time. But I'm not sure if I want to do that. I just want to work on getting faster in general on the bike and want to be able to have good endurance. What kind of a structure would you throw at me if you knew that I had 8 to 10 hours a week, and you knew that I'm a master's bike racer and that I will be pretty disciplined and I've checked all of these other boxes? What works well for you guys?
Well, not all of my clients get the same structure to their weeks. It all depends on their schedule and their events and their family life and all the rest of it, and how determined they are. But generally, my weekly workouts for most of my clients consist of 1 to 2 sort of high intensity days of sort of VO2 max intervals. Especially now as we're coming into race season, that sort of super high end 3 to 4 minute power is very important, and it's something that you can improve quickly, and that leaves you quickly as well. So no more than 2 of those super high intensity sessions. Another session would probably be threshold, so sort of 10, 12, 15 minute intervals, threshold power. And that's basically it. Sort of
you ran out the rest of the week with like some zone 2 stuff.
Intervals.
Yep.
A couple of variations on the Z2 theme, whether that's constant Z2 efforts or more of a sort of a stair step, sort of mix it up a little bit, because training many hours at zone 2 can get boring. And then on the weekends, definitely there's no substitute for still putting in those endurance rides.
Sure.
So, so 2 to 3 intense days, a couple of zone 2 days, an endurance day, and then 1, maybe 2 rest days.
Gotcha. What does an average week look like for you, Lance?
I'm actually pretty clear with this. I miss with the days a little bit here and there, but generally I do VO2 work on Tuesday, high interval intensity workouts on Tuesday. I do sweet spot work on Thursday. So sweet spot is just sub threshold, but you try to hold it a little bit longer. And then Saturday and Sunday, I have long rides both days. One is a zone 2 ride and one is a longer group ride, and I try to do
kind of a mixed bag though.
Yeah, like 3 hours zone 2, and then Sunday I try to do 4 or 4+ hours to increase my endurance base. So similar to what Ian says, 2 days of intense workouts and then 2 longer days. So that's 4 days out of the 7 days of the week. The other 3 days a week I probably still ride, but it's easy.
Gotcha. Matt, you're pretty good about putting together training programs. You've been doing it a long time. You've been coaching a lot of kids and people and whatnot. If you were to say, hey, I want to get myself ramped up for the summer. By the end of the summer, I want to be pretty stinking fast. And heck, I'm going to finally get that over 300 watts FTP. Like if you were to put together a bike program, knowing you and what you're going to do to get there based on your past performance and all that other fun stuff, what would a typical week look like for you?
Probably just hire a really good coach. Just let me know if you guys know of any really good cycling coaches around here. So again, it's very similar to Lance in a lot of ways because I kind of let the rides in the community kind of dictate the type of week that gets put together, which is probably, it might not be the smartest way, but it's a way that I really enjoy, and it just works, right? And so oftentimes that would be like a pretty decently long ride on Monday. It's basically like a 50-mile ride with some like up-tempo stuff, because there's a group ride that Jake and I used to do, and it was Mondays. And then typically some kind of workout type stuff, interval type training. Doesn't have to be all out intensity, but like I do, if I'm going to be doing indoor biking, I tend to want to do some sort of intervals because I think it breaks up the monotony. I'm saying that. Lance, help me out.
Monotony.
Thank you. Monotony of indoor cycling.
Yes.
I don't think I can do just, I don't know. If I do just zone 2 stuff, indoor riding, it just becomes
Mind numbing.
just so dull. And I start watching a video or something, and my watts are just like, and I look at them like doing 100 watts.
Erg
It's
mode.
Really,
Erg
mode
mode
is your
Yep.
friend.
Yep.
On Zwift, I try to ride with Pacer bots usually on my
keep
Zone
you.
2 rides. But then if I'm also watching a video, I get dropped because I'm just not
Because you're not paying attention. And Saturdays are kind of like Lance said, like that's the day where you kind of put a little focus. Well, you were saying like Saturday and Sunday, but like have one of those days be your long day.
Gotcha.
So
I'm
that
kind of-
works for me. That
Yeah.
schedule.
I'm kind of like that as well. And I usually am the one that builds all of the workouts, the rides that we put out on Strava for all the local stuff. And I originally set it up with very like
For
selfish
yourself in
intent.
mind.
Exactly. So
These are the rides I need every week.
Mondays, when I'm healthy and everything's going fine, I'm looking for 10 to 12 hours a week. We're already established that. So Mondays are going to be off. Tuesday's going to be some sort of an interval workout. The Tuesday night gravel ride has plenty of intervals in it,
do have
and those
to
are going to be a
be-
little bit shorter intervals.
Yep.
And then Wednesday, the lunch ride is a Zone 2 ride.
Zone 2 ride.
Thursday, we've got the flogging ride, and those are going to be longer intervals.
Correct.
And then Friday is an active recovery ride. That's when we do the
Foghat Friday.
Yes.
Saturdays are generally going to be your group rides, which is going to be a little bit of a mixed bag. And what's nice about those is you can approach them a myriad of different ways. If you want to go chase some stop ahead signs, if you want to sit on the pointy end of the group and pull everybody along, or if you want to sit in and audit it and keep
Yeah.
your watts down, you really have the ability to massage those. And you know that those are going to be anywhere from 2.5 on the hours long to 4 or 5 hours, depending upon what we're doing. And then Sunday's either going to be an active recovery day or a Zone 2 day, depending upon how many hours I put in that week, how I'm feeling, or where I'm at in my training cycle. So that formula has always worked extremely well for me, and it's something I like to do. And that, like Matt said, I will pretty much put together rides out there so that I can do what I need to do and then go out there and have fun with people.
Yes.
So cool. Anything that you guys want to add to that? Anything that you guys want to talk about with respect to the training? There's a couple other things that I'd like to talk about if you guys are good on that.
I think the only thing I was going to pick up on was Lance's talking about sweet spots training, and I do set some sweet spot intervals, but not a whole lot. I kind of feel like it's not pushing out your threshold. It's not really contributing to what percentage of your VO2 max you can sustain for longer periods. It doesn't push that threshold out. It's not a pace that generally you find yourself in during a race. You're either balls to the wall VO2 max, or you chugging along in the peloton out of the wind. So my approach is a little bit more polarized. Like I do Zone 2 and then threshold and VO2 max work, and not much in between.
I'm going to get into the weeds here just a little bit as to why I do so much sweet spot training. But
It's working.
Yeah.
Evidently.
I'm just going to share it because gravel races are different than road races. You end up doing more power and more work in a gravel race than you do in a road race, because in a gravel race you can't really hide.
Nope.
Right.
It's
It's like a time trial that way. It's like
Yes.
you have, it's not quite that level, but like you don't have like a massive peloton to hide
in a big group in a gravel race might be 6 people, where in a road race it could be 50 people.
Yeah.
And so you don't hide as much in gravel races. And the reason I do so much sweet spot training is it has to do with aerobic decoupling. That is a very difficult concept to understand, but it basically means how long I can hold a certain power at a certain heart rate.
Yeah.
So if I'm holding a certain power at a certain heart rate and I can do that for 3 hours, say I'm holding 250 or 240 power and my heart rate is at 150, at some point, usually 3 hours later, 2 or 3 hours later, those things decouple, which means my heart rate is rising even though I'm trying to keep the power the same.
Yeah.
I'm nearing the end of my effort, what I'm going to do
weak sauce.
as my heart rate. And so the sweet spot training pushes that aerobic decoupling time out.
Right.
It goes from, that happens in an hour to where now for me it happens in 4 hours.
Yeah.
I think it's going to happen for me about 4 minutes tomorrow.
Exactly.
So the sweet spot training, that sub-threshold training, and that really has to do with the gravel races I do.
Gotcha.
So,
That's a good point. Good
Yeah.
point. All right, a couple last things here before we move on. We've already kind of alluded to this. Have a purpose. Know what you're doing with everything and have a purpose, because you can't just go out there and start pedaling the bike and expect to get significant returns, and you're just not going to do it. So have a purpose. And then there's a couple other things. I mean, we've got to be real about this. Weight management is huge. Now we kind of talked about the nutrition. We don't want to be getting too crazy aggressive with that if you've got a race coming up or if you're going to be doing super high intensity, but you need to make sure that you're managing your calories and for both purposes, for weight management as well as making sure that you're fueling yourself so that you can perform on the bike. So you got to do that. And then you got to take a look at your diet. You got to make sure that you're cleaning out all the crap. I mean, when you really fully buy into this and you're just like, all right, I'm all in, and you start to really get not into the weeds, but you really start to assimilate everything that can be done when you get into the cycling world, it's a full-on paradigm change in terms of your life. You start going to bed earlier. You start really keying in on recovery, and we probably didn't talk about that enough, but rest and recovery and sleep and all that.
Especially for masters athletes, rest, recovery, sleep is critical.
And not for nothing, it's not just so you have a little bit of energy. It's so that you can have a lot of energy. And if you do it right, you're going to get some huge ROI from that, which is really nice.
Do you track your HRV?
Yes.
How's that? Has it been you're in pretty good shape, and you've been in pretty good shape for a nice block of time now. Is your HRV slowly going up?
Yes.
Okay.
It has been for the last
about 2 years or something.
8 months. Yeah. About last year, it has been slowly raising.
Yeah.
And now the same efforts that I'm the same
when you do
daily efforts, when I do big efforts,
efforts,
aren't straining my body as much. My strain score is lower. My body battery doesn't drain as fast.
Do you see about 5, whatever the point's different? I don't know. What's the point? It's the time between heart rate intervals. But you see about a drop of 5 now instead of 10.
Yes. Yeah.
It's probably milliseconds.
It's milliseconds. Yeah.
Milliseconds.
Yeah. It has. It just doesn't drop as much.
When you get wasted from just alcohol,
liquored up.
Do you see about a 10 point drop on those days?
It's the days I don't sleep long enough that I really suffer.
Yeah.
Or my HRV is even lower.
Are you aiming for 8 hours of sleep?
I'm aiming for 8.
Me too.
I hardly ever hit it. It's usually 7 because I just can't. I'm old. I wake up and then I'm like, I'm
old. Stop being old.
I know.
So going back to the whole paradigm shift thing, the sleep and the recovery and all that stuff is super important. Your diet is super important. You really you start to really manage your schedule a lot more efficiently so that you're not wasting time. You start to question whether or not you need to be watching a TV show and staying up an extra hour because you're like, I'm going to get up early tomorrow morning and I don't want to feel like crap when I'm riding tomorrow morning, or I'm going to be riding with some people that are going to be going fast and I want to be in there mixing it up. And, I'm not going to have that glass of wine tonight, or I'm not going to, eat a bag of potato chips before I go to bed, because all of these things are going to affect the way that I sleep and the way that I feel when I wake up the next morning. Hydration is another big thing that a lot of people do much better with when they're out there training a lot, because when you are dehydrated and you're trying to perform, you find out really quickly that sucks. So those are some of the things that really start to change. And then get yourself on Strava if you're not on Strava, and start finding community and start tracking all of your stuff. And that's another good place to find community that's going to help support you. Anything else that you guys can add to that list? I guess the only
I think the nutrition side is hugely important.
Oh yeah.
But I think your original question was how how do you get fit now? This right now, mid-May for races coming up, and now is not the time to embark on a calorie deficit diet. So most of your
which just depends on when your event's coming up.
Must be based around fueling adequately.
Sure.
I would say. So you talk about the quality of your training. Well, your intervals will not be of the correct quality if you go out there hungry.
Yep.
You know, there's a place for fasted riding if you're going to do a low zone 2 effort, but generally it's all about getting enough fuel in your body to execute the workouts.
Absolutely. But I still think that there is a play. If you put yourself in a position where you're kind of like last minute, there's still a way to kind of walk both, but you can't go like crazy. Like I'm gonna do all of this at with a caloric intake of like 1,200 calories, and I'm gonna go out and do 10 hours. That's just not gonna work. Yeah. It's not feasible. And that's the other nice thing is when you're doing these long workouts, you are going to burn so many calories. So it's important to refuel yourself, but depending upon the days, depending upon how you're feeling and depending on how you manage things, you can still do the deficit thing and you still see like, your body composition change, your overall weight come down, but just do it safe, do it reasonable.
You can do the deficit thing, but as long as and then at that point, the timing of your food intake becomes really important because you need the fuel for the ride. So you need enough carbohydrates to do that 1.5 2 hour ride, and then it's all about what you eat after that ride.
Yeah.
Like if you
some of
really overindulge it, then you can.
Yeah, some of us who've been doing this for a while have a pretty keen idea on how that process works. But if this is all like, oh my gosh, I have no idea, go seek the advice of a nutritionist. Go work with a coach that's got pretty good background. And obviously they're not going to be a registered dietitian, but they can help like push you in the right direction, give you nudges, and give you some good suggestions in terms of like how to approach that. I mean, let's say that you're, I don't know, like you want to get to like 190 pounds and you're actively right now at like 225 or 230 or something like that. I mean, you can start to massage things and maybe you're not going to get there in the next, 4 or 5 months, but you can go from like that 15 to 20 or whatever it is. You can chop off like over the course of like 3 months, you can drop 10, 15, maybe even 20 pounds if you do it right and not jeopardize too much. I mean, it's going to be a little bit of a give and take. There's going to be a little bit of like, all right, I could have maybe gotten a touch faster, but at the same time, look at where I'm at with my weight. And maybe I've set myself up to have a good rest of the summer or a good fall if you want to go race cyclocross or do a late race or something like that. And then you've got a good base, a good foundation to go into the winter so that when you get to the following spring, you're setting yourself up for some more success. So
we should also acknowledge that not everybody can treat calorie consumption and calorie balances that objectively. To so many people, there's such a huge emotional side to eating, and even to the point where a lot of athletes do have active eating disorders. So if that's you, that's you got to watch out for that stuff. Yeah. So I'm the same as you. I can be objective about my calorie intake. This is what I need. This is all surplus. This is a deficit.
Yep.
But it's not always the case for everybody. So
I cannot be objective if there is a piece of Haribo in front of me. It's going in my head. I'm gonna eat it.
That's so funny. When we were in Tenerife and Lance goes to the local store and he buys like 6 bags of Haribos. I'm like, what? You gotta be kidding me. Really? Oh yeah, that's my downfall.
Be real. Did you get the giant one? Did you eat it or did that get just tossed in the trash?
The what?
The giant.
No. The giant gummy bear. No, it's not. It's in my office.
Oh, it's still alive in your office? You didn't eat it?
I did.
Oh my gosh. Is it covered in ants?
No, it's in his plastic bag.
That's hilarious.
It's still.
Is it still edible then? I mean,
it's still edible.
Still edible.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's decorated.
And it totally caused me to fall off of my non-Haribo wagon.
Yeah,
that's right.
No more gummy worms, and I ruined that for Ian.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, it's an unfortunate part of the sport because watts per kilogram do matter, but there's that's a slippery slope. I don't want to get into that too much. Just be careful, make good decisions, and work with people. If you think you've potentially got a problem, or if it's maybe something like maybe I need to talk to somebody, go talk to somebody.
I have a problem.
There you go. Too much Haribo. and then the last thing, and we can kind of get into this and go for days on it, but marginal gains are a real thing. Take a look at your bike, and there's a lot of things that you can do to improve importance there. Like a clean drivetrain is a fast drivetrain. There's a big difference between tires and wheels and all that other stuff. It's not the end of the world, but I mean, if you're really looking for that last little, just need to get over that hump, those are little things that you can look into as well. Cool.
Yes.
Good talk, boys. Good talk. Anything else you guys want to add?
Get out there and do it.
Get out there, enjoy that weather.
Yeah.
Sweet. How hot is it going to be today here in the Pacific
80,
Northwest?
88.
90. I'm just going to hit 90 in Vancouver.
Whoa.
Wow. Good times. Good times. All right, let's get into one last thing. Mr. Matt LeGrand.
Yes, I always have videos to talk about. The Garmin Venue 3 video went live.
Sweet.
So that's live on the YouTube channel. Go check it out. It went live on Sunday. People have been watching it. It's been good. And this week I'm working on a watch called the Sunto Race. Ta-da.
Matt's double fisting with
Matt's-
watches. He's got a
Matt's wearing it.
Sunto race
Wait,
on
you
his
got a
left.
Are they both Sunto races?
This is the Garmin. This is the Sunto. Sunto's the brand. Sunto Race. Excellent watch. Nice, big screen. Good, really good battery life. Excellent watch. I've had really good GPS accuracy.
Does it have a flashlight?
Let's see if I can do like a long press. You can see it's got this style
Oh,
flashlight.
weak sauce. Throw it in the trash.
Throw it in the trash. It has for those that are just listening, it has a display flashlight from its AMOLED display. So
Screen
if you're
turns
getting up
white,
to go to the
yep.
bathroom, something like that, it's fine. Not as good as a built-in flashlight like the Garmin Epix or the Garmin Phoenix watch. That it's really quite nice. Love that. On my other hand is the Garmin Forerunner 165. It's Garmin's entry-level Forerunner series watch. Very good watch. Great GPS accuracy, good heart rate accuracy. I have 100 kids that I coach. 100% would recommend it to all of those kids. So
Cool.
good choice if you're in the market for that one. This video is coming out maybe like 2 weeks or so. The Sunto race, hopefully if I can get a video put together Sunday or Monday, hopefully this video will come out as soon as possible. I'm not working on it right now because I'm podcasting. So
Hey, yo.
get back in front of the editing room department.
Sir Ian Gibson, you got one last thing for us?
Well, if
There it
you've
is.
noticed that I'm not my usual eloquent self on this podcast, it's
little
because my head is just full of last minute things I need to put together for this race that I'm hosting tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
By the time this podcast comes out, it might be too late to encourage you to race, but I'm hoping
there's
it's going to be a success.
Day of registration, though, yeah?
We do have day of registration. It's
What-
$10 extra.
Okay, when does online registration close?
5 p.m.
Today?
Friday today.
Day?
So,
All right.
yeah.
Well, I'll see if I can get the podcast out before then, and if you
It's
listen to
just
this in
a-
the last hour or two, then you
Yeah.
can register online. Otherwise, you can show up to the race and register there.
Yeah. And it should be great. The weather's going to be perfect. The course is looking good. As far as I can tell, everything is in place for a successful event, but I'm still stressing out that I've forgotten something. It's either going to be a great day or a complete disaster. So
Nah. I think
Barton Park Road Race. We are excited for it.
we are.
Sweet. Yep.
Yes, I am helping Ian all morning at the Barton Park Road Race, helping with the flaggers and helping with the setup, the administration of the race. And then hopefully I'm jumping in my race field and actually doing the race in the 50 plus 345 field, which doesn't go till like 1:30 in the afternoon. So
Gotcha. And that's a 6-lap race?
6 laps race.
Was that like 42
48 miles?
is it
or
48?
40? Yeah, 40. I don't know. Whatever. I'm just gonna follow wheels. So I'm doing that. So hopefully I'm gonna do the road race tomorrow, and then there's a mountain bike race I'm doing on Sunday up on Mount Hood, Bear Springs Trap.
Sweet.
Put on by Eric Tonkin from Selwood. So
Nice.
He took over that race, or has he always done it?
I have no clue.
Huh.
I
Interesting.
think he took it over.
That's cool. Good
Yeah.
for him to bring that back.
Yeah.
Because it's been off the schedule for a few years now, yeah?
It's been like 6 years since they've had that race.
I've talked to
Yeah.
a lot of people, and they all say that is their favorite mountain bike race.
I've never ridden those trails. I've never ridden where the race is at, so I'm kind of excited
Where
to
is
see
it at? Mount Hood?
It's on Mount Hood. It's on the east side of Mount Hood, just past government camp, like 10 or 15 miles. So that's where it's at.
Sweet.
Bear Springs.
All right. My one last thing is you may or may not see me on Strava tomorrow. Maybe.
What?
Maybe.
What?
You have
it all happens.
potential to step over a bike?
I'm going to step on the...
Not a dog walk, right?
No. Just for Ian, I have posted
Stretching
probably
and core work.
3 or 4 dog walks, but they're all private now. So I I don't know why. I was trying to like keep a certain pace just so I could see how my leg was feeling, and trying to go a certain distance while taking the dogs for a walk. And I was just using my watch, and then as soon as I hit stop, it just automatically sends it over to Strava. So I changed it to be private. But I might be jumping on the trainer tomorrow to do a little Zwift session, which will probably port over to the old Strava. So maybe you'll see me over there.
Cool.
So
Wow.
5, 10, maybe 15 minutes. Stay tuned to
right.
listen
Just
next week to
something.
find out just what everybody wants to hear about me riding on freaking Strava 100 watts for
Zwift, yeah.
10 minutes. I'm sorry, Zwift. All right, cool. We will be, actually, first and foremost, good luck tomorrow to
Yes,
everybody.
thank you.
I
Absolutely.
really hope that turns out well for you. I might be able to get down there. I still don't know. And I'm kind of trying to like temper myself. Like if I go down there, I know I'm going to be walking all over the place, and I don't want to like overdo it. And I'm trying to think, if I go down there, is there anywhere for me to park a car on course where I can stop and pull over and be out of the way to take some photos and use the car as my means of transportation as opposed to walking around? Oh no.
There
Yes-ish.
are some limited parking.
They're all country
Spots.
roads, so it's
Yeah.
people's driveways. It's people's driveways.
But
There's not a whole lot of
There's
pullouts
a
on the
spot
roads.
up at the top of Eden Wall. There's enough room for 3 or 4 cars there, but that is going to be a feed zone, so there might be other people up there. There's enough room definitely by the finish line.
Okay.
You could park there.
Okay.
So
To be determined. We'll see.
yeah,
But cool.
and then or come down and hang out with us at registration.
Sure.
Always welcome. Sweet.
All right. Well, again, good luck. And we'll be back next week with another one of these. Till then, bye for now.
Come on out and play bikes.